Yeah.
Let's get into the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
Give me your personal opinion on the Spurs. Fan, not a fan of the way they kind of play the game.
I'm gonna go fan. I'm gonna
Okay.
go fan. I love this three guard thing that they have going with Fox, Castle, Harper. You obviously have a transcendent talent in Wemby, already delivering a historic defensive season in year three. I think this is year three for him. A
Mm-hmm.
historic defensive season in year three. Champagny shoots the stripe off the ball. I love Champagny. Perfect addition for this team. Same for Vassell, just more so at the guard spot for them. So I really like what they have going on. Shout out to Carter Bryant. I hope we get to see a few
Me
playoff
too.
minutes from him.
Me too.
He's a defensive menace, and I think he's going to come on in the next couple of years. And I can't imagine trying to score on this team with both him, Wemby, and Castle on the court.
Yes.
That just sounds nightmarish. That's disgusting. But I'm a fan of what they have going on. But I do have a few question marks. I do have a few red flags and things I'm nervous about.
I feel the exact same way. That 3-guard lineup is like what the Phoenix Suns were trying to do like a decade ago with Bledsoe, Dragic, and Isaiah Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah. And it's just so interesting now that the Spurs are doing that. By the way, all of these are kind of clipped up. If you want to go, we talked about, I believe it was the Detroit Pistons a few videos ago. Go check that one out. But we were talking about shot creation, consistent shot creation. That's my number one question mark about the San Antonio Spurs team. Wemby is great. Defensively, already one of the best defensive seasons in the history of the league, right? Undisputed defensive player of the year. But the shot creation there has not gotten to the levels of the high-end scores in NBA history. I think that it absolutely can, but we see the great playoff teams, Curry, SGA, LeBron, of course, even Kyrie Irving back in the days with the Cleveland Cavaliers. You've got to be able to either get a bucket yourself or produce a bucket and be the number one guy, offensively speaking, down in the clutch. Can Wemby do that with no playoff experience? I'm not certain about it, especially in a series where they're playing extremely physical basketball.
Yeah.
Wemby, in my opinion, is the number one competitor in the league right now. Like he verbally talks about it in his press conferences and his social media. He wants to win, but the will to win versus like the actual physical tools to win, that is where
very different things.
I'm very hesitant on this Spurs team. I'm in the boat of I need to see it to believe it. What say you about the Spurs right now? Are you in the same boat there?
We're right there. We are right there.
Yep.
I'm very concerned about physical teams that can get up underneath him and take away his handle, take away his ability to get downhill, and just throw different coverages at him. The regular season is a very different process than what the postseason is.
Yes.
Whoever plays him, you have enough coaches on the staff. Each guy is being given an assignment right now. So whoever gets that 7th seed, someone is studying profusely on Wemby. They're looking at his best games. They're looking at his worst games. They're looking at his nights where he hits his averages. They're looking at everything top to bottom, and they're looking at which game plans worked, which ones didn't. And we saw some that worked, that really stuck. And we saw teams front him, switch guards on him freely, but then sit in the gaps and dare him to be a playmaker, dare him to consistently shoot off the dribble. We all know his most efficient offense is going to come near the rim. He's a 7-foot freak, and that's really the end all be all. However, I think he's really fallen in love with the mid range. He's really fallen in love with his 3-point shot. And what concerns me is there was a game early in March versus the Clippers, and they had this amazing comeback win. They were down by like 25 points. However, Wemby was crying after the game, and all his teammates ran around him. Obviously the cameras come up and they're asking him, you got emotional after this game. What was going on? And he was like, this is the most exhausted I've ever been. And I'm a little scared thinking about that, because what happens when you're playing max physicality and you're playing every other night? And there's going to be some nights where the 26 minutes a night he played, or 29 minutes a night he played,
Right.
is not
Yes.
going to be enough. Some of the best guys in the world, Steph had to play 35 minutes during some playoff series. KD had to play 35 minutes. Bron, we saw him have years where he's playing 40 minutes a night in the postseason. So if you want to win, there's going to be more called on you physically. We know that the basketball itself is going to be more physical. You're going to get less calls. And Wemby took 5.5 threes a night. That's a lot of threes for a center.
Yeah.
It is very high volume for a center. And the amazing thing is, we know he can get hot. He can have his nights where he hits 6 or 7, maybe even 8 threes. But are your legs going to be around for you to do that in the second round, in the third round, when you've had basically back-to-back games for a month and a half now? That concerns me about them. And I'm not ready, as much as everyone else is, to just crown them the new kid on the block and say that it's their time to take over. There's a lot to remain to be seen about this team, and specifically Victor Wembanyama on the offensive end.
Yes. As a matter of fact, as we're talking, I'm wrapping up a little bit of research, because what you said triggered in my brain about his minutes and his usage. And I'm scrolling through the last bit of this. Yes, confirmed. Victor Wembanyama he's only been in the league for 3 years. Granted, never played 5 games in a row where he's had to play 35 or more minutes. Never. In the history of his career, he has not had to play 5 games in a row, let alone a 7-game series where he's playing 35, 35, 35, 35. And that's kind of what I'm worried about. The number one concern with him coming out of the draft was physicality and injuries. Can you be that size, move at that, like with that ability, and stay consistently healthy? And or can you do what you do without having to change your physique?
Right.
And that's kind of this right here is the test to find out which one of those two things is true or untrue for both questions, physicality and injuries. Go ahead. I see you cooking.
Let me raise something to you. This has been on my mind when we think about the MVP conversation. Wemby's had an incredible season. The defensive end, no debate about it, best defender in the world. However, when I'm stacking him up to the other MVPs, Shai's not getting away with playing, very close to, if not under the limit of games allowed for, national media awards.
Yes.
And playing 30 minutes a night, under 30 minutes a night.
Yes.
And a significant portion of the season, Wemby was coming off the bench on a minutes restriction. I understand his value on the defensive end, but I think in many ways it's led people to discount what the rest of this roster does and how good they are as a team from top to bottom. Fox is giving you 18. Vassell is giving you 14. Stephon Castle's giving you 16. And any night, he's a walking triple-double. Champagnie broke he got to second all-time in threes made in the season. Like, they have an incredible team. Keldon Johnson is in the running for Sixth Man of the Year, and Dylan Harper's really turned it up as of late. Like, they have an amazing team top to bottom, and I feel like Wemby's obviously the face of that, but he's gaining maybe a bit too much credit when it comes to these other MVP candidates who have really had to swing it out to make sure that their team is at the level that they needed to be at.
Yes. 100% agree. As you're speaking, I'm also looking up the disparity between Wemby's total minutes versus like SGA's. And I think it's actually, well, I'm going to confirm this before I speak, because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth real quick. But let's see here. Minutes played, totals. Let's just see stats. Yeah. Okay. 29.2 times 65. 0.2 times 65. 1898 and SGA stats. Apologies to all the listeners here, but we do real research when we do these episodes.
Exactly.
68, 33, 2. Let's see. 68 times 33, 2. Yeah. So SGA has played almost 500 more minutes than Victor Wembanyama. And I think I've seen a lot of people, this is completely off the Spurs topic here, but I've seen a lot of people talk about how the 65 game rule is kind of a good idea, but it shouldn't be the game rule. It should be the minutes rule. It should be off of minutes played. And that's kind of my same concept here about Wemby's impact. It's like in the short times that he's on the floor for more than 7 to 8 minutes, you every single time feel the weight of his impact like a dumbbell on your chest in the morning when you wake up. Like it, like you see it, like he's one of the best in the world, but it's all about, can you do that in the first, second, third, and fourth quarter in one game, and then expand that to a 7-game series, and then expand that to 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 different playoff series. That is the concern with this Spurs team. Outside of that, I don't know about you, but I don't have any other questions about this Spurs team.
I believe.
I'm a strong believer in the Spurs team. I think whoever they draw in the first round should be a gentleman's sweep, maybe a 6-game series. But then second round, the matchup versus Denver that's going to be the one that tells me everything that I need to know. I don't know about how you feel about this Nuggets team. We'll talk about them in another episode, guys. Be sure to check that out as well. But what Wemby looks like versus Jokic in an actual chess match is going to tell me everything I need to know about the future of this Spurs team. And I think we're a little, especially me, I'm a little in the negative side here on Wemby. But man, he's top 5 player in the world right now. Let's not get it twisted, right?
But he's amazing.
What else do you like about this Spurs team now that we're kind of shifting the conversation back to the playoffs?
What I do like is their ability to get downhill. When you have Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, and Dylan Harper, paint touches come like this. Some teams have to really work and scheme the opportunity because they don't have the guys that can break a defense down one-on-one. The Spurs are just kind of overflowing with that type of guy right now. You've got 3 of them, and then you've got obviously Wemby, who can completely restructure a defense around his gravity and ability to score. So I'm super high on that. I love their ability to get to the rim. Having 2 trusted shooters in Vassell and Champagnie, another really green flag. I love watching those 2 guys. They know their spacing. They know when to drift, when to lift, when to play off of their ball handlers. And one more thing. This is more like it's less in the way of X's and O's, but I believe every team needs that role player that provides a bit of crazy, and that is Keldon Johnson for them. Keldon is going to work the offensive glass. He's going to hype the team up. He's going to have the crowd there. We look last year, OKC didn't have, I think, a traditional version of that guy, but in many ways, that's Lou Dort. Lou Dort is picking your player up full 94. He's all in his chest. He's playing super physical. You just can't get rid of the guy. And Detroit, full of that type of guy. And San Antonio has that guy in Keldon Johnson that is just so ready to do the dirty work. And in some ways, Stephon Castle's that as well. Looking back at how he guarded Cade Cunningham, I mean, you could see Cade get frustrated, and everything that Castle's doing is within the rule book. He's just being extra physical, and over time, that's really annoying. It really wears on you. So I like the different components that they bring. And like you said, just top down, I believe. I think Mitch Johnson is an amazing coach. We do have to see his ability to adjust in-game and game to game, but I just kind of have the feeling that he's going to be able to do that. You look at some of the chess matches that he's had with Dagnall and some of the other top tier teams in the league, he's always been able to hold his own. So I like this team, and I really do believe in him.
I feel the same way. I think the two things that are going to get in the way is what we've already talked about with Wemby, but the second thing is just lack of playoff experience, lack of situational awareness in some of these late game stuff. Kind of like that game versus the Denver Nuggets, just not even a few weeks ago, like a few days ago, actually, that overtime loss. That's kind of where I see where they will learn and grow. They're in the exact same spot to me. And honestly, they're in a better position because they have better seating. But that Pistons team from last year, right?
Yeah.
That's a Pistons team full of dogs that needed playoff experience to then explode into the next year and say, we're here, we're going to put our stamp on the Eastern Conference. The Spurs have kind of already done that in the regular season, but the playoffs is another animal, and you're going up against either Denver or OKC, who both littered with deep playoff experience and just as high level of play. So we'll see what happens with the Spurs. I'm excited for them, and I think they can beat the Denver Nuggets. What do you think about that?
I think they can. I personally think that they're the better team. I was watching most of that matchup just a week ago in the overtime loss, and they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, and they were up at like 16, 18 at certain points in the game. I think they're the better team, but it came down to letting runs go a bit too far, being a bit sloppy when it came to defensive transition stuff. Very fundamental things that if you tune on for one play, it's like, okay, it's just one mistake. But those things add up against a team that knows what they're doing and knows how to chain these events into runs. And Denver can do that. So I think that they can beat the Denver Nuggets, but I think Minnesota might have something to say about that. I don't know how easy. I don't know how easy of an out that Minnesota is going to be for Denver. I have a lot of questions about that series.
Thanks so much for watching our playoff previews. Be sure to go check out the other ones as well. And huge shout out to Colin Hatfield. This guy is one of the best ball knowers on social media. You can find him on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Colin.Hatfield Show. This is one of the best ball knowers in and outside the game. Be sure to go check him out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.